5 seconds to go. Start. In the course of the debate yesterday on the Home Ministry's demands, a number of points were raised by honorable members. Stop. In particular, I am happy that some members of this House appreciated the efforts that were being made by the state governments as also by the center, so far as the various subjects under discussion were concerned, especially, so far as the law and order situation was concerned, it was very good on the part of some members to have appreciated the efforts made by the state governments in this regard. Stop. Para. There were a number of other points also which were raised, and in respect of some of them, I should like to enlighten the House so far as the real position is concerned. Stop. These points deal very briefly with Tripura, the Andamans, Delhi and Gujarat, and they have also some bearing on the question of the scheduled castes, the scheduled tribes and the services. Stop. These, therefore, are the various points, and I should like to place the correct picture before this House, so that the House will know what government have been doing so far as all these questions are concerned. Stop. Para. With your permission, I would deal briefly with Tripura first. Stop. When the Part C States Act was passed, in view of a number of circumstances, the geographical position of the state, the backward nature of the state, the existence of a very large number of tribal people, and a number of other circumstances, it was considered advisable so far as the administration of this state was concerned, that it ought to be directly under the government of India so that they can spend more for the purpose of developing this backward area. Stop. Now, the question is often raised why we are not immediately introducing popular government in this teeny state, the population of which is 500,000. Stop. That question cannot be considered singly, but will be considered in the context of the report that we are receiving very shortly, in the course of the next 3 or 4 months from the state's reorganization commission. Stop. The whole question will be considered. Stop. Their recommendations will be placed before the House, and only then government will take appropriate action. Stop. So far as the present regime is concerned, it will also be kindly noted that it is not an autocratic rule in the popularly accepted sense of the term. Stop. Para. And that creates to my mind, a situation which I think, in the larger national interest, we should avoid. So, how do we reverse this trend? Sign of interrogation. This is a question, to my mind. Stop. We must start with this confession that this trend of 50 years has to be reversed. Stop. Gandhiji talked of the Gram Panchayat. Stop. And that is why when I think of the center-state relations, I am not confining myself to just the relations between the center and the states. Stop. I think, you have to think of the center-state relations in the larger perspective of decentralization of power when it logically follows that a state government must be prepared to share its power with the district level, and whatever authority we have at the district level, that power should be decentralized to the block level and right down to the Gram Panchayat level. Stop. And I was very happy the other day when the Prime Minister did talk about reversing the planning process. Stop. That is what we have been arguing for so many years, that economic and social planning of this country must not be carried out in the ivory towers of Delhi. Stop. It must begin from the grassroots level. Stop. A combination of panchayat plan must give us a district plans. Stop. A combination of district plans must give us a state plan. Stop. And similarly, comma, a combination of state plans must finally give us the national plan. Stop. Of course, comma, I am not taking into considerations those specific areas of authority in which, comma, for example, the center is supreme. Stop. There, of course, comma, the center has to plan by itself. Stop. I will come to that later. Stop. But broadly, that should be the pattern. Stop. Having said this, comma, I would like to say that from a purely functional point of view, and by virtue of geography and history, comma, by virtue of the very size of our country, and by virtue of the plurality which is a gift of history, comma, efficiency in administration and accountability are just not possible without a degree of decentralization. Stop. If the village teacher is not working, the education minister at the center cannot control. Stop. It is impossible. Stop. If a medical officer in the primary health center is not paying due attention to his job, comma, it is only at that level that his performance can be controlled and he can be made accountable there itself. Stop. Therefore, comma, there has to be monitoring at that level. Stop. And for that monitoring to be effective, comma, there has to be authority vested at that level. Stop. Para. Sir, comma, at the very outset, I congratulate the Ministry of Steel and Mines for its efficient working. Stop. There has been in the past propaganda on behalf of the private sector that it alone can deliver the goods, comma, it alone is affection, and that the public sector is notorious for mismanagement, comma, for inefficiency and for loss of production. Stop. Both the things have been exploited by the working of the public sector since the year 1981, and in streamlining the administration of the public undertakings, the Steel Ministry has played a key and crucial role. Stop. Para. There has been a mismanagement in this company and its management was taken over. Stop. I am personally of the view that whenever mismanagement is visible in any private sector undertaking, comma, then, comma, instead of only taking its management for a limited period, comma, it should be taken over permanently, and it should not be a short and half-hearted measure. Stop. The company should have been taken over, comma, acquired, comma, as it is sought to be done now, in the year 1982 itself, once the government comes to the conclusion that the company's affairs are not being conducted in an efficient manner, and when the government has to invest funds to the tune of crores of rupees, where is the question of reserving the decision that it may go back to the same old management? Sign of interrogation.